All right, welcome back for the finals here of our OTJ Artisan Zombie League Megadraft. And one thing that we didn't mention throughout the evening is that the winner of this match gets to play in the Player of the Year for 2024. So both of these players are relatively new to our server from just this past year. I know Ryan joined for cons, and I think Alexis was MKM. So you know, they're playing with quite a bit on the line. I know there was, a bit of controversy with the way things went down tonight, but bottom line is both players drafted very, very good decks, and we're gonna get to see them both here in the final. So we have, unfortunately, as I mentioned before, Ryan is not able to stream, but we do have Alexis here, and he has a pretty nice looking hand here. So looks like it's gonna play out nicely for him potentially. What do we think about his green red deck, especially after seeing it in the last round?
Yeah, so did you see if he was splashing the black?
Yeah, he had two back for Morris in his deck.
That's what I thought. Yeah, so we saw he had the two back for Moors and the Mourner Surprise and the couple of dual lands and the couple mirages. That
Yeah, in
makes a
the
lot of sense to me.
in the in the absence of the green black gold cards, having something like back for more is like a pretty big game breaker here in a format where there's maybe not as much recursion loops as we imagine there might be. But
Absolutely, especially when you've got the big green boys like this deck does.
yeah, but Ryan no slouch here. He's drawn two of his six trained Arynxes, and doesn't really have the option of blocking them ever with like any of the creatures he's going to play in the next couple turns. But he can race here with this Gila Courser and then the Cunning Coyote. So he can at least attempt to race. And this pause here, you know,
Yeah, if you'll note this priority Ryan has on one green, I can only imagine why that might be.
either that or he's holding priority to bluff
I
it.
would be very impressed if he is full controlling this to represent it, and we do know he does have two snakeskin veils in his deck, so I think
Yeah,
it's likely he does have it, but you never know.
I know during week six of the regular league, I was holding priority and doing full control a couple of times, even though I had zero stake pintails in my entire pool. So it's worth it. I think one of the times it was against Frisky Hobbit, who I know pulls up people's pools while playing. So
Oh,
I was like,
absolutely.
so I think partway through I was like, okay, never mind, no need.
Sometimes you just gotta look in your graveyard, hover over your lands,
Yeah,
hold full control, act like you got something to do.
yeah. I knew I wasn't pulling one over on him. So I think after doing it a couple of times, I had ended it. But yeah, looks like Alexis does have the tools to potentially race these Arynxes here.
So, notably, Ryan missing his land drop there. And we know he has Snakeskin Veil most likely, but nothing else for the turn. He probably has some sort of removal here, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know if he had any fierce retribution, but that would be the one that would come to mind.
We did
Also,
see Getaway Glamour.
yeah, it could be getaway glamour just to kill this 4/2, especially if he invests a card is saddling it to try and get another card draw here. So the Gila Courser is castable this turn from the other Courser finding it, so they flock together. It seems. Let's see. Okay, he just says no need to saddle. I was gonna go straight to attacks.
I think he's seeing the likely removal spell here.
Okay,
Uh
so it's just a holy cow here, but pretty good for Ryan here. It just sort of negates this cunning coyote attack, so he gets to trade and take zero damage effectively. Interesting to see if
could have
Alexis takes
been
advantage of
worse
his
for
free card here.
Alexis. I don't see why not. I don't think anything in his hand is particularly better. He can still hit his land drop.
Yeah, and he can play Cactarantula next turn if he gets an untapped land here,
Right.
which I imagine Ryan. I mean, Ryan does have a lot of answers too, but they're all going to be two for ones for Alexis here because he's going to get a card out of it. Yeah, it seems like Ryan's deck is just trained Arynxes and Buried in the Gardens, which nothing wrong with that. Most of his deck is composed of removal and
And Ernix.
Yeah,
That is a deck in this format.
absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, cat is gonna probably ride a cat here.
If I had to guess.
I think. I mean, it's sort of like a flavor fail to have like a mounting a mount. I guess like we had that back like when vehicles first started. Like, oh, I'm gonna drive my I'm gonna drive my car onto the plane and crew that. It's like, but I guess it would be too crippling to gameplay to just say like you can't saddle with a mount with another mount. It would just be
Yeah, I
a
think
bit.
that'd be a little too hurtful.
Yeah, but it's the flavor. The flavor. All right. Well, this beaver is potentially going to be a stop sign here for. Well, not even for one of the Arranks because of the token here. So okay. So Alexis realized I can't really be on the offensive anymore. I need to have as many bodies here to try and stop the Arranks. Interesting to see if. I mean, Alexis is probably going to. Yeah,
I
Ryan's going
think
to be
we're gonna
happy to
see a
trade.
double block here, right?
Yeah, but Ryan's going to be happy to trade his Arranks for a beaver here.
Certainly.
So, and I mean, even if Alexis hits his Cactarantula next turn, the Arranks can still attack through it because now there's a second mercenary token. So this cat, what a 2-drop! Like like a 3/1 first striker at common is like basically unheard of. Like
Yeah, and they do not like to give out first strike nowadays.
like I added this to my pauper cube and like the only other 2-mana creature that has 3 power and first strike is like Porcelain Legionnaire, which is like a really old card. Uh, that you can be cast with Phyrexian mana for 2.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is like kind of uncharted territory for commons at least. I mean, yeah, you have to saddle it, but I mean, just play a creature
It's a
and
small ask in this format.
yeah, and I think in any sort of common based anything that's going to be based with commons, your deck's going to be majority creatures. So yeah, very very strong in OTJ, but also I think just as a card for a common. Interesting.
Agreed. I
Alexis, I think,
think
is going to opt for 2 creatures here rather than a Cactarantula. Because I think he says if opponent has one answer to the Cactarantula,
it's pretty
my
bad for him
blocks
at
are
8.
really bad. At least here it's like he can throw a bunch of bodies and hope for the best
It
rather
does
than
make the
nothing.
super block a little more awkward, I think.
Yeah, and there's still a Snakeskin Veil to potentially be concerned about
True.
that we have not seen yet. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we've seen the green mana giving him priority, so we know that.
I
And,
think it's
and sometimes you just use it as a combat trick. Your opponent blocks with one less toughness than needed. Well, okay, I can win combat with it.
because you really could buff it up to 5, possibly 6 power, and then the block with everything plan looks pretty bad. I guess you probably just chump, but
Yeah, and Ryan's probably figured Alexis doesn't have a removal because he would have played a removal rather than play like these middling creatures last turn.
it's true. And he doesn't know that Ryan has 3 buried and 2 lasso and everything else.
Yeah, like if Alexis had like an explosive derailment, a thunder salvo, or throw from the side, he would have played one of those and then played the other 2 or 3 drop. He wouldn't have just played 2 creatures.
Hmm.
So
Very true.
it's pretty clear that he does not.
I am
He does not
surprised
have
to
that.
see he's got demonic ruckus in the main board.
I think it's just a tool to be a bit more aggressive. I mean, it's not a bad card. Oh, I think he
Uh,
mistapped his mercenary. Yeah, they're sometimes
Ryan with
tricky.
the classic buffing the mercenary instead of tapping both of them.
Well, at least the it didn't buff itself, which sometimes I think will
Also very
unfortunately
common.
come. Yeah, this is less unfortunate here. I will say that. So he's still not opting to take the trade here at 5 life. I mean, he could have
Hmm.
just put two tutus. I mean, Opponent's tapped out.
With
You're
his
not in danger.
opponent tapped out, it
I
has to be a double block
I
there
think you
for
have to
me.
just throw a two, like the prickly pear and the cutting card. You
Easily.
basically have no
Because
text
you
on
only
them at this
lose.
point in the game. So
Did he even buff it? I think he would
uh,
have only lost one creature because the
yeah,
mercenary was buffed.
it was a 3-1.
Yeah, so you would
This
only
was
lose
his
one 2/2.
this was his chance, I think, to get it off the board.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
interesting to just take it and go to 5. Yeah, when you
And that
straight off
Ryan
your 2-2.
tapped out pre-combat.
Yeah. So a little bit of a misstep here potentially to let the Arynx live, but let's see how Ryan goes about this turn. So just, I mean, the Arynx still has good attacks, right? Like you could still just make it 5 power first strike and trade with the Crack Tarantula, and I think he's happy to do that. But we know there's a snakeskin wheel here, so I don't know if that's going to come into play here. It'll depend on how Alexis blocks. It looks like he's going the chumping route. Maybe with this Trash the Town and this Demonic Ruckus, he's thinking about trying to just win in the next couple turns with a sort of bunch of surprise damage. But could this be a Trash the Town? Oh boy,
Oh no.
that is a Trash the Town for lethal here. So just we
Just
got 5 trampling.
extraordinarily risky.
So we got I mean, Trump block. I mean, he can't necessarily believe that there's going to be a Trash the Town there, but he could certainly block in a way that he doesn't die to really any one card. But it was all looking a bit grim there. But unfortunately, did not take the chance to kill the Arynx when Ryan mistapped his mercenary, and that's going to bring us to game 2 here. Well, we'll see what Alexis wants to do against an army of cats here. It's not like you could bring in your 3 mana creature
Yeah,
that blocks
I
it.
saw
There
the
just it doesn't make
naturalist and
sense.
I was like, oh, what a good blocker.
Nope.
Not.
Where's the 2/4s? Where's the three? Where's the 3 mana 2/4s? I guess it's there's a white one at common, but that would be a good stat line to fight the Arynx. Yeah. So Alexa's deck, I think, doesn't. I mean, aside from maybe the back for Moors, his deck doesn't work too well from behind. I think he's like, and I mean, he does have a lot of 2 and 3 drops, so he really needs to get on board and keep the advantage because he doesn't have too many ways to fight back. So the Arynx has just gave him a bit too much. I'm surprised that the Savage Smash was in the sideboard. That card seems like a reason to be
Especially
playing
in
pretty
this
red.
deck, which seems to be lacking in removal. It's
Yeah,
aggressive, but not a ton of removal. Also, only one of the summoners in the main form.
yeah, he's not really making tons of 4 power stuff. I mean, he can do a bit of it, but it's
Most of
not
it
as
is,
reliable as we saw with
certainly.
Johnny's deck. But there is quite a few ways to trigger it. But Ryan very close to locking up a Player of the Year spot here. So
While on an iPad.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, he was close to making. He was in the contention in the regular
He
league,
was.
deep
He
into
was.
week 5 and week 6 there. So
Feels like he does really understand this format.
yeah, so I mean, he's only played a few leagues with us, but already making an impact here. And well, we'll see Alexis if he can come back here because he's also again relatively new player on our server here, and has played three regular leagues so far. All right, so unfortunately does not have a one of his Gila coursers in hand here to get this Beast Bonder to draw a card immediately. That would have been pretty great. He really has nothing here unless he wants to play Outcaster and suit up with a Ruckus and start attacking. But I don't know if that's the optimal way to go. He may just plot
Probably just
this.
plot here.
Yeah,
Wonder
he's
if he's
really.
gonna cycle the armadillo.
I feel like you have to just go Beaver
I agree.
Outcaster next turn. I don't think you can afford not to, honestly.
Especially because you need to get the outcaster out there.
And he could have a demonic ruckus gives +1/+1. He could have a 5/5 beaver here, vigilance next
Hmm.
turn. So we'll see what Ryan has, but
I'm gonna
Alexis has
guess
a
a
plan here.
second error.
In his hand, I mean,
Yeah,
likely. Okay, passes. This could be a getaway glamour here, which would,
which would really mess up the outcaster.
yeah, because he would play the beaver and then play the outcaster,
Hmm.
and beaver would go away, and he'd just have a 3/3 with no further text.
Hmm.
So I don't know if he has that card in mind. Ryan did not have that. Did not show one, I believe, in game one. And he has two, if I recall. So
Right, I believe we only saw the lassoed in game one.
all right, he's just gonna go for. He said, "Well, my opponent's not doing anything. I can just set up for a really scary looking turn here. I'm not
Especially with
gonna.
the snakeskin veil in hand, I do understand the cautiousness, only taking 3 a turn, having gained that 3 life back.
I mean, he's pretty. I mean, he's pretty happy that Ryan tapped out here. That means he has more or less free reign to do whatever he wants to do here.
And I think he will.
And I think leaving up Snakeskin Veil is going to be part of the plan.
I would sure hope so.
So he can play the Gila Courser here, yeah, and now
Hmm.
he can leave up Snakeskin. So not none of this is a shock here. I think he maybe wants the Ruckus
Saving
for
the
the Beaver
ruckus.
for the
I think
Vigilance,
that's
perhaps.
fair.
But I mean, Alexis has to be pretty happy with how this has played out so far. Ryan's deck not really doing what it set out to do, I think, yet. I mean, we'll see the coming turns, but turn two, Arings, turn three, no play, turn four, plot. You know, green white decks usually want to be on board a bit bigger, but two Spinewoods here make up for it. Everyone's gaining life.
There's a lot of paladins on board.
Right, so I think this game is looking like it's going to come down to like tricks and interaction here now, since the boards are going to be a bunch of big stuff. I think it's who has the right
And
trick at the right
Savage
time.
Snatch is quite the draw in that scenario.
Yeah, it is a way to get one of these paladins off the board, and he'll still have the snakeskin because he
Hmm.
named green on the mesa. So let's see how he decides to proceed here, but I'm guessing it's the paladin. He's going to go after one of them.
Has to be, right?
Question is, does he attack now with how many creatures does he attack with? If he attacks with the paladin, he's opening up a trade with the Arynx, which he probably doesn't want to do.
Oh, but what if you suited up with the ruckus to give it menace?
Well, that'll be extremely large, so
I
it's
sort
looking
of
looking
like
tempting.
that, hitting for 8 this turn. Unless he wants to trade both of his creatures.
Huh, interesting.
Okay. Sort of the same principle applies with the Corsair. He would have to trade both of his creatures. And this is going to get him cards. He hasn't played a land yet for the turn, so I assume that's what he was hoping to hit.
I mean, Thundersaw was pretty nice. You can just fire it off next turn.
Hmm.
All right.
Corsair is nice in that you do get into the next turn.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel it weird that like some cards you have to play at this turn, other cards next turn.
Hmm.
Other like they're all worded just slightly differently. I always have to check, and I always have to double and triple check. Okay, Wolverine I have to play it this turn, but this guy you can have it next turn. Yeah, I mean, I like that they're giving red a lot of these cards. I mean, every color should have some way to do card advantage, but I do find it confusing that we never quite get the same templating. All right, so all right,
Alright,
well,
he's buried.
well,
What's the target?
well, whatever it is, this
No,
the
thank
this
you.
the snakeskin's coming out. Yeah, snakeskin is absolutely coming out here.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
But he does at least have a follow-up here to get something off the board, so he was able to
And that's
utilize
going to
2
be
removals.
9 damage this turn.
That's a lot.
Bit scary. And then Ryan, now representing his own snakeskin veil.
Yeah, actually, just Alexis just needs to find a couple more lands here, right? Because Ryan was able to
Yeah.
do 2 things in a turn, and Alexis is stuck just doing 1 thing a turn, and his snakeskin's gone here. So yeah, it was. Yeah, the early game was a very strange for like 2 sort of aggro-ish decks that nothing much was going on board. Alexis plotted a bunch of stuff, but and then ended up playing most of them in the same turn, which is good. It just took a little while. So he said, "I think I'm gonna dig here and see what I can find." And a prickly pear is not really what he's looking for. And
I
even with
wonder.
2 extra cards here, he can only still do 1 thing.
No.
Oh,
I think you need to play a 4-drop here.
okay. So no snakeskin veil apparently.
Or
Okay,
at least not worth using there.
huh?
There's some chance he was worried about a follow-up throw, similar to what he did on the previous turn.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, let's see how this turn plays out. I
But
mean,
it also could have been that full control.
Ryan maybe he's maybe hesitant to throw out another removal, but I think he feels pretty okay about it this time. He said he can't have snakeskin veil every time. All right, so now the lands are coming, so he can perhaps get a larger creature on board here, but he's still in trouble here,
Pretty
being at 6 life versus a trampler. There's a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah, I really think I like playing a big boy there instead of risking getting blown out by the snakeskin veil with the removal spell, but I understand wanting to use the card while you have it.
Yeah, I mean the snakeskin veil will hurt anyway. Like the snakeskin veil, even if he has the snakeskin veil and he plays the beaver, he just he can attack the Erynx into it or the 5/4 into it and be pretty happy. And now we have to chump block here because beaver got removed. So Ryan potentially looks to be on his way here. And now a Prosperity Tycoon, another threat here. So we do have a 6 land, which means back for more. I think he's just going to do a
And he
main
said
phase
he's just
here.
gonna run it
So he's
while his
deciding,
opponent
yeah,
has no
okay.
cards. I don't know. I might have liked the life game from the Paladin. I guess it doesn't
It doesn't
trade into
kill anything, though,
favorably.
without
Yeah,
dying.
fair enough.
But I mean, okay, so the Prosperity Tycoon can't get through the 7/7, which is big. So Alexis
Yeah,
is just
but that's
counting on
really cool.
Ryan top decking things that are
Not
not going to
begging
help him
land.
attack. Okay, well, that's an Erynx, so Alexis does get a turn here to put 2 more bodies in play. So he may be able to crawl back into this. We'll see.
I think it's
All right.
gonna come down to top decks.
I mean, top decks, yes, but also Alexis does have more spells to cast, right? He has
Certainly.
2 spells this turn, and he has a guaranteed spell next turn, and Ryan has whatever's coming off the top of his stack. So,
You just also got a lot less life to work with.
but this is still just 1 removal away from disaster for Alexis because
Mm.
as soon as the 7/7 leaves the board, the Arynx and the Prosperity Tycoon can both attack, and a
Mm-hmm.
great draw here for Alexis. So,
Absolutely excellent.
like aside from a removal, this is like one of the best things he could have found. Okay, land.
Is there
So,
any chance you crew and swing your courser? It's very risky, but it does get you another card.
well, it is going to get eaten by the Prosperity Tycoon because it can gain
It's
indestructible.
true. It would just trade for a token.
I mean, yeah, same reason why he can't really attack with the Quill Charger. There's just like the Prosperity Tycoon is actually walling off everything. The 7/7 is the only thing that could potentially attack, and it's it's his best blocker, so he needs it at 3 life. So he's just gonna have to sit around and find something to push through damage here. Okay. Throw from the saddle
That'll help.
can get the Arix off the board, but it's not going to kill the Tycoon here.
The Tycoon's ability does tap it.
Yeah.
So there is some consideration for just making him use a token and tapping his Tycoon.
I mean, it would remove two blockers, but
Mm-hmm. Just to
uh,
get the Corsair in and get another card. I don't know that you can afford to be that aggressive on 3 life, but it is a consideration.
yeah, let's see. Like this is going to be an important decision here, and we'll see what this throw from the saddle can do. All right. He's dragging it ever so hesitantly. He's like, I think he's still deciding what to do. I think he's just taking unless there's like a getaway glamour or a snakeskin veil, he's taking the guaranteed kill, the one that can't be stopped with onboard things. Looks like he's willing to trade his Quill Charger for,
I believe it's going to get a buff.
could be. Yeah, it's going to become a
And
6/6. So Alexis can trade the Quill Charger for both of the tokens.
which I think is still advantageous.
So if Ryan wants to kill this, he's gonna have to block with everything. Alternatively, he could also take 6.
I think he just takes 6. I agree. I think he's looking to top deck something, some removal here or something.
But if he doesn't have anything, Alexis can attack with probably more things next turn potentially. A Scorching Shot is
Ooh,
a nice one.
just all hits on top of the deck
I
for
think you just
Alexis.
target the Tycoon. I mean,
Yeah, he has to sack a
he
token and tap
has
it.
a sack of token to tap it. I mean, then he just dies. If
I
he
don't
lets
think
the
he can afford
Tycoon
to do that.
if he lets the Tycoon die, then he's still just all of his blocks are pretty awful. So nice series of draws here for Alexis, getting 2 removals in a row. So he had the couple cards extra over Ryan. He drew the Beast Bond. He drew 2 removals. It's in the clutch moments when you need to draw the things that keep
I
you in the
said it
game.
was a top deck off, and Alexis had a great top of the deck.
Oh yeah. All right. Look, I think he's just gonna offer the same trade again before doing
Interesting.
doing anything else. He says, "I'm just gonna act as if I didn't draw anything this turn. I'm gonna offer the same trade." And Ryan says, "I will not block." Okay. Let's see what Ryan can muster up here. Okay, Grizzly is okay. I think Alexis might try and go for it this turn. Scorching Shot, the
I think
bear, and then
so.
maybe.
Even one answer from Ryan doesn't do it.
Okay, so he did have the snakeskin veil here,
If he
as
has
as
nothing
they often
else,
do.
Alexis does still have lethal on board on a swing out. That is pretty risky. Oh, I don't know about this.
Well, it gives trample, so these these
Yeah,
these chump blockers ain't doing much. The 7/7 is gonna have trample. I think that's better than a 3/3
I
attacking
would agree
that could be chumped.
on
So
further inspection.
Alexis is onto something here. Like I said, this Grizzly, it's just sort of like, you know, it's so unassuming, and it just when you need that trample,
It's the
it's so
difference maker,
huge.
absolutely.
It's so huge.
Time to see if Alexis is going to change anything for going second.
Like 3 mana 4/2 with like a combat related ability has been like a card that like we rarely ever care about in limited in most sets,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the toughness being low. But the fact that it's
Mm-hmm.
a mount, it's 4 power, and like we said, the trample when it's key, it's game winning. So very very
I even
good
think
use of
3
the card.
mana 4/2 trample is more appealing than our average 3 mana 4/2.
Yeah,
Obviously,
definitely for
giving
sure.
it to everything is even better, but
All right, so Alexa's looking through here, see if he wants to switch anything up.
Said no. What could he want more than Corsair?
We'll see. Yeah, he did side out his ankle biters, but now he's
Yeah,
bringing
looks
one
like he
back
wants
in.
another one back in.
It's just they're so bad against. I mean, like obviously, if he knows there's 6 trained Arinx, he's like playing 0 ankle biters ever because they're
Yeah, to be
just
fair, I think he's only ever
too
seen
weak. But
2 at once.
yeah, obviously he's not aware that there's so many of them. But interesting, he just I guess he said now that I'm on the draw, I want a little bit of more of a defensive creature.
And they do mean that you have to saddle. You can't. I mean, you could just swing your Arix in, but typically you would want to saddle it to swing it into an ankle biter. So at least you're taking away an attacker
Yeah,
on some
absolutely.
turns by making him saddle.
Yeah, this was not the format for the 1/1 death touch. Like sometimes the 1/1 death
Yeah.
touch is like a nice role player. Sometimes it's just a little
Especially
outclassed.
because they gave like the paladin trample, the grizzly can get trample.
There's just
Uh,
all the trample. There's first strike from the Arinx. There's just a
Jolene to
lot.
ping a damage on it.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of times for our 1/1 death touch, but you know, often they're like end up playing like a C, and this one played end up playing closer to a D a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think. All right, so Ryan is ready for game 3. Like I said, unfortunately, we don't have his stream here. I believe he said he's working on getting a new or better computer to hopefully stream games in the future. But he has taken a mulligan here, and I think Alexis will be. No, okay, I was gonna say I think he'll be following suit, but
I think I take a mulligan there personally. Certainly going second.
yeah, with no creatures and no interaction before
And
any.
knowing how aggressive Ryan can be early.
Yeah, this could be asking for trouble here. We'll see if he can draw out of it, and so far, not too much going on.
They're good cards, but they're not helpful for the situation.
Yeah, I mean, Keykeeper at least a little less scary than an Arinx, but still a turn 2 play and a Grizzly here. So Alexis needs something now, or he's just gonna fall way too far
Mm.
behind because Ryan has to have one of his removals in hand. So
Oh, yeah? I imagine a beaver comes down, followed by buried in the garden.
yeah, if Ryan has a 4 drop here and a removal, this game is pretty much done. Like there's very few ways for Alexis to come back. So I get you don't want a mulligan, but with Trash the Town Beaver and 5 lands,
I
it's
just think 5
a bit
lands
too
when
risky.
you're going second is so risky, especially in this matchup.
Okay, so at least Alexis is not going to be attacked for more than 6 potentially next turn, but playing one thing a turn versus a deck full of removal that got on board before you is not the ideal plan here. Looks like maybe a throw from the saddle.
That's my guess.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
and if he has a follow up, it's going to be extremely brutal. I mean, he's just going to be dead.
Nothing else you could be holding snakeskin here.
I mean, just playing Beaver, he's dead.
Yep.
So with all the lands in the world, the Beaver, I mean, just on board. I mean,
Absolutely.
he can fake a snakeskin veil, but he's it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think there's any card for red or green that can save him from dying here.
Not in this set.
Nope. Yeah, and I think Ryan knows that. He just said, "Let me attack him." So, we did I think flag Ryan's deck while doing the pool review of being potentially extremely scary, and it has lived out to be so. So, congratulations to Ryan M. Joined our server earlier this year and has found his way into the Player of the Year. So, congratulations, and we'll be seeing him when that comes around. And that's it for our OTJ Zombie League Artisan Megadraft. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you for the regular OTJ top 8 later this week.